Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriyat. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 15, beginning from verse number 23. The story of Bhagavan Parshuram. So, we read that he was son of Jamdagni, youngest son, and he killed Kshatriyas. And it was started because he was exasperated at the behavior of Kartavirya Arjuna, who stole the cow from his father. Stole, actually took away forcibly. So we read Kartavirya Arjuna's story, that he was very powerful, came in the dynasty of Pururava, and he is supposed to be a great devotee of Dattatreya, and he was a great yogi and ruled for about 20,000 years. But he became very proud by his power, and therefore Parshuram has to come to remove him. So there is a saying in Hindi which means that for every powerful person there is a match, if not in your own village, somewhere outside. So we see that Ravana was thinking he is great. He meets Kartavirya Arjuna. Kartavirya Arjuna was thinking he is very powerful. He meets Parshuram. So somebody is there. Ultimately, it is only Bhagavan who is most powerful. So no one is more or equal to him. So here it is described about him that even this Kartavirya Arjuna, who was so powerful, even he was defeated by Parshuram. स एकदातु मृगयाम विचरन् विपिने वने यदृच्छाश्रम padam Jamdagner upavishat. So one day Kartavirya Arjuna, he went for Mrigaya. This was the sport in the olden days. The kings, they used to go into the forest and chase wild animals and shoot them. So they kept their fighting spirit alive like this. But you have to practice. So he went to the forest and he was wandering there, chasing animals, and he by chance came to the ashram of Jamdagni Rishi. So Jamdagni received him because he is a king. He gave him honor and he offered him seat, sweet words, place to sit down, water to drink. These things are available at everywhere. So Sumrita Vani. And then he said that please be my guest. So king thought that what can he do for me, and I have so many people with him, because he was not alone, he has a small army with him. So he says, no, we just stopped by to have your darshan. And he says, no, you just relax and I will provide you some nice food, whatever you want. So he thought, why to trouble this sage, he is living in a small hut here. But then the sage insisted, so he also thought, okay, let's see what he can do. What can he do? So he says, you just call everybody and whatever they want, I will give you. So tasmai sa nardevaya munir arhanam aharat sasanyam amatya vahaya havishmatya tapodhana. So to that Nardeva, the king, the Muni arhanam aharat. He brought objects of worship, padya, arghya, achmaniya, something to eat. So this was custom. Some guest came, you gave him water to wash feet, hands, mouth, then some water to drink, something to eat. Sort of reception, simple. So he did that. But then he also received the army, Sasanyam, and his ministers, Amatya, and all his carriers also, Vaha, means horses, elephants, whatever he had. So how was he able to do this? In a short span of time, there was a big feast. And he said that whatever anybody wants, we will give you. If you want pizza, no problem. If you want rasmalai, that is also there. If you want something else, bread and butter, says anything you want. And it was true, whatever they wanted, any drink, anything to eat, they wanted a nice place to sleep, there was nice huts built suddenly there, and comfortable beds. So everything was there. So how was he able to do it? Because he had a cow, Havishmatya. It is called here as Havismati. So this cow was Kamdhenu, that she could supply whatever the sage would ask for. So the king was very surprised to see this, that this even I do not have. I am the king and I have so much opulence, but even I could not supply this type of food in such a short amount of time. It was just like home delivery, right? Gargamuni. So just make a phone call and it was delivered there. So he was completely surprised. So Saviras tatra tadrishtva atmashwaryati shayanam tan nadriyata agnihotram sabhilasha sahahaya. So that heroic king, when he saw this, he understood that the Aishwarya of this sage is more than his own Aishwarya, his own opulence. He said, I am the great king and I have never been defeated by anybody, and he also had a lot of yogic powers to get things. We read that he has Anima, Mahima, Laghima, Garima, all this, but not this type of power. He could get some things, he could produce, but not this. So therefore he says, Atma Aishwarya Atishayanam, that more than him. So what happens? Then comes envy, right? As long as you are number one, you are very happy. Then you see somebody else competing with you and actually doing better than you, then you become envious. And that is the beginning of fall down. Actually, it is not the beginning. According to Satkaryavad, it is the end. It's already there, right? It's just unmanifest state. So he became very envious that what is this old fellow living here in this hut having this cow? I should have this. So you see, when your mind is not satisfied, then nothing can satisfy you. The king already had thousands and thousands of cows with him. It's not that he is lacking, he has plenty of opulence. But still he is thinking, I want this cow. So this is greed. And greed can never be satisfied. Only need can be satisfied, not the greed. Because greed has no limit. Needs is limited. Greed is unlimited. So he, therefore, sabhilasa sahaya. So he became desirous to have the cow. So he is a guest, and he should be happy that he has been received and he has been well fed. They relaxed. He had a nice picnic in the forest. Right? Even he could not have arranged like this. So, but now he becomes sabhilasha, not anyabhilasha, sunyam, but full of abhilasha. So then what he did? According to the description here, he did not even ask him. So he says, Havidhanim risher darpa naran hartu machodayat techa mahismatim ninyu savatsam krandatim balat. So let's assume that he asked the sage that give this cow to me. First he asked him, how did you manage this such a big feast? So he said, I have my cow and she can give anything I want. So he says, why don't you give this cow to me? I am the king. Right? Just like the state government actually owns everything. Even if you have it, there is always a provision that they can take it away from you. They can declare emergency. In the constitution there is always something like that. In normal situation they cannot take away your property, but they can make some abnormal situation and then they can take it. So king doesn't have to do that. King means who is ruler of everything. So he says, well, I am the king, I should have it. I should have the best things, not you. So he says, give this cow to me. So the sage, he refused to give. He says, well, I can give you, but there are certain things you cannot give. You can ask some other things, but he says, this is my means of sustenance. This is how I do my yagyas. All my requirement come from her. If you take it away, my whole dharma karma will stop. So I cannot afford to depart with her. Moreover, she would not like to go with you, because cows are not some machines that you can just lift from here and put it there. It's not a milk machine. It's a living being, and they also have a relationship. So you try to take one cow away from here, then all other cows will start crying. And actually that cow would not go. They also have a relationship, they also understand. So she would not like to go. So then king said that I am king and don't refuse me. Nobody dares to refuse me. So he says, well, you are king, I cannot fight with you, but I don't give my permission to take it. But if you want to take by force, what can I do? So therefore it is said that he was so proud, Darpat, that out of his arrogance, he told his men to snatch the cow. So hartuma chodayat, havirdhani. So that's why this cow has been called here as havirdhani. Means is the source of havi. so for yajna. And this is how she was being primarily used in the service. So they forcibly took away the cow. Even cow was not happy to go. But they did not care. They pulled the cow, they beat up the cow and they took away. So techa mahismatim ninyu savatsam krandatim balat. The cow was crying because she did not want to go. But forcibly they took away the cow. So this is what will cause trouble. So he is not taking the cow, he is taking his own death. He is inviting that. So tat arhan sadhanam ashwaryam drishtva tat arhanam nadriyata yato agnihotriyam kamdhenu. So when the king saw all the means of worship which the sage has offered him, he did not care for that. Rather, his mind was fixed on the source of all these articles of worship, that the cow. So havirdhanim kamdhenum hartum. Therefore he ordered that take this cow away. And that's what they did. So then once the cow left the ashram, then everybody was very sad, because this was not only just some animal, but they are worshipable and their wealth. So cow is very worshipable, honorable, and this was no ordinary cow. So all the husband, wife, children, they were all very sad that this happened, and naturally they were very upset with the king. So at that time, the youngest one was not there, otherwise it would not have happened. So then came Parshuram with a big bundle of woods. He has gone to get wood for the yajna. So when he came, he saw that his mother was crying. So he was very surprised what happened. So he asked her that, why are you crying? So the mother explained and said that my father did not do anything. And she said, no, he did not give by his choice. He refused, but they took it away forcibly. So then he said, that means they disrespected my father. And he said, of course, he did not care for your father. So then Parshuram became furious, because you know that how obedient he was to his father, and somebody insults his father, he just cannot tolerate that. So he took his weapon, bow, arrow, axe, everything, and he ran without meeting even the father. So therefore he says, Atha Rajani Niryate Rama Ashram Agataha Shrutva Tattasya Dauratmyam Chukrodha Ahiravahata. So when the king has left, then Parshuram came to the ashram. So that means all this time he was not there. So Shrutva Tattasya Dauratmyam Chukrodha. When he heard the wicked behavior of the king, he was exasperated. And he was just like a snake who is hit by a stick. So if there is a snake and you hit the snake with a stick, then snake becomes very, very angry. He will immediately attack you. So this is how he was. He says, Ahiriva ahata, like a snake ready to bite. So snake is anger personified. So this is what Parsuram was at that time. So what did he do? Ghoram adaya parshum satunam charma karmukam anvadhavad durdharsho mrigendra iva yuthapam. So he took his terrible parshu. That is his special weapon. That's why he's called Parshuram. So this parshu is that which cuts others. And he took bow and arrow, so karmukam and satunam, with quiver full of arrows, and charma. He had also charma is, what do you call that, shield. And he ran furiously out of anger. He was sprinting. He just could not contain himself. So Anvadhavat, he chased them. And how was he chasing them? Just like a lion chases an elephant. Mrigendra iva yuthapam. So means he was fast. Elephant is going at his own pace and lion is coming full speed. So this is how he chased Kartavirya Arjuna. Tamapatantam bhruguvarya mojasa dhanurdharam bana parashvadhayudham eneya charmambarararkamadhamam bhiryutam jatabhirdadrisho purim vishan. So when he came running behind him and he just caught them when they were about to enter the city. So dadrisho purim vishan. When he was entering his city, Mahismati, Puri, then Kartavirya Arjun, he saw him. And how did he see him? Tam apatantam. He was, apatantam means like falling onto them. Means like a speeding train, just running. Bhrigu aujasa. And he was full of vigor. Dhanurdharam, he was having a bow in his hand, bana, arrows, and parashvadhayudham, and he had his parsu. So all these weapons he had. And aneya charmambaram, and he was covering himself with the skin of black deer. So that's what he was putting around his body. And arkadhama bhiryutam, he was blazing like the June sun. It's still May, just wait. So that's how he was. And Jatabhi, and he had his matted hair flowing around, so he looked beautiful and terrible at the same time. He was tall and strong. He was not some ordinary looking Brahmana. He was a very strong looking warrior type of Brahmana. He was Brahmana in name, but he was a Kshatriya. So that's how he came. So now Kartavirya Arjun, he realized that there is trouble. He was thinking that what this Brahmana can do. And therefore he took the cow and he was, come on, who is this? Can you not stop?
No, I'm vanity.
Maybe you can just say, please mute your mic.
Or switch off the loudspeaker on your computer.
Okay. So, now he understood that it's not that easy to take the cow from Jamdagni, and therefore he has to now fight. He knew that this guy is not coming to give some blessings. So he's there ready. So therefore he says, Achodayad hasti ratha swapattibhir gada shibanarshti satagni shaktibhi akshani shaptadashati bhishana starame eko bhagavan ashodayat. So then he ordered his army, since he was in the city, so he ordered his army, and army came with 17 akshani. So in Kurukshetra there were how many akshani? 18, right? 11 plus 7. Pandavas had 7 akshani, Kauravas had 11. So one akshani has 21,770 elephants, 21,670 chariots, and then some 76,000 they have horse riders, and 106,000 roughly infantry. Because army has 4 types: the infantry, cavaliers, elephants, and chariots. So this much is called one akshani. So now you multiply that by 17. That's quite a lot. That's a big army. So this whole thing, they came and they were all, as I said, hasti, ratha, ashwa, pattibhir, elephants, chariots, horses, infantry, and they are carrying mace, swords, arrows, and different types of, what do you call, where you throw shatagni, where you shoot bomb.
Spears? Javelin or a spear?
No. Where there's a machine you put and then it shoots.
Catapult. Catapult.
No. क्या प्रदीप क्या बोलते हैं उसका? Cannons. So they used to have cannons. Cannon in Sanskrit is called Shatagni. So they also had cannons in the olden days. So they had all this. So what did Parshuram do? When he saw the big army, he ran away. He says, oh my God, I didn't think that. No, he became completely furious. And he killed them, all of them. He happily finished 17 akshani of the army. Just like that. So he says alone. He says, Rama eko bhagwan sudayat. He alone, he killed that. Why? Because he is Bhagwan. So this is quite amazing that one person can kill these many people. So you can see that there was a big blood river flowing there, and in the river there were heads floating. That's what. So many people were just dying and crying and And it's not only human beings, then you have these elephants running around crazily. So they also kill. Because if one crazy elephant gets into the infantry side, he will trample a few hundred people. And they do act crazy because they get hurt, their limbs are also cut. So then they start running haywire. So anyway, he killed all of them. So Havirdhani Kamdhenum Hartum Purim Praveshaneva Arjuno Dadarsha Hastyadibhir Gadabhi Scha Bhishna Akshoni Rachodhyat Preshyamasa Praharan Parashwadho Yasya Sa Mano Niliyori Vaja. So now, what did he do? Drishtva Swasanyam Rudhraugha Kardame Ranajire Ram Kuthara Saikaihi Vivrakna Charma Dhvaja Chapa Vigraham Nipatitam Haya Patadvirusha. So now Haya Arjuna.
Do we skip one verse then?
Yeah? Okay, Yato Yato Sau Praharat Parashwadho Mano Nilauja Parchakra Sudanaha Tatas Tatas Chinna Bhujauru Kandhara Nipetu Urvyam Hatasuta Vahana. So he was fighting at the speed of mind. And then when he has killed most of them, then he was fighting at the speed of wind. He slowed down. So in the beginning, he was at the speed of mind. Otherwise, how he is going to kill so many people? Mano Anil Auja. So Yato Yato Asau Praharat Parashwadho. He says whichever side he went, there was just bloodbath, nothing else. He will just go and smash everything at the speed of mind. Like you have this deck of cards and they fall down. So like that he was kicking everyone around. So Parachakra Sudana. So Para means the enemy and Chakra means the group. So group of enemies he was expertly killing. Tatas Tatas Chinna Bhujoru Kandhra. Whichever side he went, all you could see is the head and arms falling down. Like somebody chopping trees left and right. So what was there? He says Rudhur Augha Kardame. There was a river of blood and there was kardama made from blood, like mud which becomes marshy. That people were getting stuck in that. So much blood was coming out. Can you imagine so many people? So Ranajire Rama Kuthara Saikai. Says by the Kuthara, the axe, and Sayaka means the arrows. So by the arrows and axe. So sometimes he was using the axe, then he will change and he'll use arrow. Somebody is a little far away, he shoots. Somebody is within his range, he clears that. Those who are running away or a little far away, he shoots them. So he did not leave anybody. He will run and kill. Those who are running, he will kill them also. So he has both types of weapons. By arrows, he killed people who were at a distance, and those who were within his reach, he was using his parshu for that. So then when he saw this, Hatasuta Vahana, Nipayetu Urvyam Hatasuta Vahana. So all the Vahanas, the chariots, they were killed along with their drivers, Suta. So driving is also not safe in such a place. So in Chennai there is a temple of Parthasarthi. Have you seen that? So that Parthasarthi deity, if you see, then the face The body is full of arrows. It's said that after the battle, Krishna went there to relax. He had so many arrows in his body. Because when you drive chariot, don't think that it is some plane. You also get arrows. So there is a temple of Parthasarthi. So therefore you see here that Hatsuta Vahana, they all fell on the Urvyam, on earth. So Drishtva Sasanyam Rudharodh Kardame Ranajire Rama Kuthara Saikahi. So when the king Kartavirya Arjun saw his army which was fallen down on the battlefield and there was a blood flowing all around made by the arrows and the Parshu of Parshuram. Vivrikna Charmad Ashwadhaja Chapa Vigraham. He saw the flags cut down and the bows and the shields all fallen down, broken into pieces, fallen down on the ground, Nipatitam. So then he became angry. Because he is a heroic person, so he was not fearing. So he says, what is this? So now I have to go myself. So therefore he became angry and he came. Atharjuna pancha shateshu bahubhir dhanushu banan yugpat sasandade. Atharjuna pancha ramaya ramostra bhritam samagrani tani ek dhanveshu bhira chinnat samam. So then he came and he was having 500 bows because he have how many? 1000 arms. So he has 500 bows and he was shooting with the other 500 hands. So he himself is equal to 500 men. So let's describe Panchashateshu Bahubhir Dhanushu Banan Yugpat. So simultaneously he shot 500 arrows at Parshuram. And Ramo Astra Bhitam Samagrani. But Parshuram is the best of those who wield weapons. Astra Bhitam Agrani. So Tani ek dhanve shubhir achinat samam. So what did he do? He had only one bow, but with one arrow he cut all the 500 arrows of Kartavirya Arjun, and Kartavirya Arjun had a shock because he never expected anything like this. So today he has met his match. They say. All this time he was playing even with people like Ravana, but now he met Parshuram. So Puna Swahastaira Chalan Mridhengripan Utshipya Vegada Vidhavato Yudhim Bhujan Kutharene Kathora Nemina Chichedarama Praspham Tvaherivaha. So what he did, he thought that there is no point with these arrows, etc. So he went and he uplifted some mountain and trees, and he thought that I will go and I will drop on his head. So he will be smashed by that. What can he do with the mountain? So this is what he did. So Swahastair Achalan Mridhe Angripan Utkshipya. So Achala is mountain, Angripa is trees. So he uprooted them, Utkshipya, Vegad, Abhidhavato. And with a speed he ran to drop it on him. So what did Parshuram do? He says, oh, his hands are dangerous. So he cut off his hands. One by one. So he chopped him off and made him straight. He says these extensions don't look good. Like sometimes you have to trim the trees when too many branches are growing. So he says there's too many branches coming out of this. So he cut them off. So Kutarena Kathora Nemina, with his sharp parshu, Chichedarama Prasbham Tuheriv. So that's what he did. So Praharan Parashwadho Yasya Sa Manonilayoriva Aujau Vego Yasya Sa Pratmam Sanyasya Ati Bahulya Drishte Mansaiva Atmano Vega Krita Tasmin Nashta Praye Sati Kinchid Vishramana Artham Anilasya Iti Artha Tatra Tatra Vira. So it's just a commentary explaining about the fight. Not much to say. So Rama Ramam Hantum Ramastutani Dhanunshi Samambani Sahitani Vachina Taslan Parvatan Abhidhavta Shahe Pranani Veti. So he cut his hands and then Kritta Bahoho Shirastasya Gre Shringam Ivaharat Hate Pitri Tatputra Ayutam Dadrivur Bhayat. So then when his hands were cut off, then he was standing there like a mountain with a peak. So then he also cut off his head. It did not take much time. So when Kartavirya Arjuna fell down dead on the ground, then he had 10,000 sons. Right? He was ruling for so long, so what he was doing? Producing children. So then they all ran away out of fear. Says, my God, this guy is dangerous. So they ran away. So therefore it says, Dadruvu Bhayat Ayutam. Ayutam means 10,000. So then what he did not chase them. He took the cow. So Agnihotri Mupavartya Savatsam Parvirha Samupetya Ashramam Pitre Pariklishtam Samarpayat. So he got the cow back along with the calf and he returned to his ashram and offered the cow to his father. And the cow, who was also described here as Pariklishtam, means who was also very unhappy that all this happened because of her. But she was pleased to be back home. So this is how he returned there. And then he told his father, Swakarma tatkritam rama pitre bhratribhyevacha varnayamasa tatshutva jamdagni rabhashta. So he explained what he has done to his father and to his brothers. So he thought they will be very happy. Right? But after he has explained this, his father, he spoke as follows to him. He said, Rama Rama Mahabaho Bhavan Papa Makarashit Avadhin Nardevam Yat Sarvadevamayam Bratha. He said, Oh Ram, what have you done? You have acted very wrongly. He says, this was not appropriate because you have killed the king who is representative of all devas, Sarva Devamaya. So he says, this is not what you should be doing. So he did one act which was improper, and now you have started a whole parampara of karma. So when somebody does something wrong to you, there are two possibilities. Either this is a new act, or it is a reaction of some of your act from the past. Both are possible, we don't know. It's not always that whatever is happening, it's happening because of past karma. You also do new actions. So in any case, you have a choice whether you react or you can stop the cycle of karma there only. Otherwise, karma is a very cyclic thing. It goes there, comes back, goes there, comes back. So you have a choice to stop it. And stopping it, that don't react. So don't reacting means two things. Either you tolerate it or you act, which means not reacting, which means not having the sense of doership. But perform if something has to be performed. So then you stop the cycle of karma. So that's what Krishna says, Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya. That you become situated in yoga and then act. So first become situated in yoga and then you act. Then you are free from karma. So naiva kinchit karomi ti yukto manyeta tattvavit. So tattvavit, he knows that I do not do anything because he is yukta. Yukta means situated in yoga. So this is the science of karma. This is the art of karma. So then one does not get the reaction. So tato yuddha yujjasvam naivam papam vapsyasi. So then you can do yuddha also. You will not get the sin. Otherwise you get the sin means it is going to make a cycle. So this is what his father is telling him. That you have acted wrongly. He acted wrongly also. Kartavirya, not that he was not wrong. So he says that you should not have killed him. So vayam hi brahmanas tata kshamaya arhanatam gata yatha yaya loka gurur deva parmeshtyam agat padam. So he says, my dear son, we are brahmanas and we are worshipable only because of our kshama, the quality of forgiving. So forgiving means when you are capable of taking revenge, punishing or acting, but you do not do that. If you are incapable of taking action, then that is not kshama, and that is weakness. So he says that yes, we are capable, because he could have also cursed him. As brahmanas, as being a sage, he could have cursed him, but he says, I did not do that. And Jamdagni is not some less angry person. You know that he got angry at his own wife. But here you see, he was not angry at the king who was being so offensive. After all, the wife has not done a big offense when he asked Parsuram to kill her. She just got delayed, and of course he was watching this people having some water sport. But it was not something like Kartavira Arjun did, stealing the cow. But he tolerated. He did not show his anger. So therefore he says that Vayam hi brahmanas tata kshamaya arhanatam gata. That we are brahmanas, so we should know what is our status and act accordingly. We should act according to our identity, our position. To act in a way which is not suitable to your position, to your status, that is not good. So he says, you are not a Kshatriya. It is not our job to take weapons. We can teach weapons, we can teach martial arts, but we don't fight. Because that's not our dharma, that is dharma of Kshatriyas. If he has done this wrong, then he will suffer for that. So that's what he says. He says, Vayam hi brahmanas tata kshamaya arhanatam gata yaya loka gurur deva parmeshthyam agatatmanam. Says, by this characteristic of Kshama, Loka Guru, Brahma, he has attained the position of Parmeshthi. So we should follow in his line. So any commentary on this? Arhanatam pujyatam, worshipable. So kshamaya rochate lakshmir brahmi sauri yatha prabha kshaminam ashu bhagwan stushyate haririshwara. So he says that the Brahmi Lakshmi means the wealth or the beauty. Lakshmi can have both meaning, beauty, wealth. Wealth or beauty of a Brahmana is in being tolerant and forgiving. Beauty of Kshatriya is being chivalrous and fighting. That's why Krishna says that from where has this weakness come on you? Hridaya daurbalyam taktvat uttishta paranta. So he says this is their beauty and it shines like the light of sun, Sauri Prabha. Kshaminam ashu bhagavan stushyate haririshwara. And Lord Hari is very quickly pleased by those who are tolerant. So Ragyo Murdha Vishaktasya Vadho Brahma Vadhat Guruhu Tirtha Sansevaya Changho Jahi Anga Achyuta Chetana. It says to kill a king who is Murdha Abhishakta, means for whom the Abhishek, when king is installed on the post, there is a ceremony done for that. He is given a bath with this sacred water. So that is called Murdha Abhishakta. So he says killing him is more sinful than killing a Brahmana, Brahma Vadhat Guru. And therefore now, what is the atonement for you? Prashchitta, you should go to all the Tirtha places and take dip in them. And while meditating on Achyuta. So Tirtha Samsaya Changho Jahi Anga Achyuta Chetana. This is the end of this chapter. So Brahmi, Brahman Sambandhani, Lakshmi, Shobha, Kshamaya eva rochate dyotate. So the beauty of a Brahmana shines only by tolerance and not by fighting. Sauri Suryasya Prabhave, shines like the glow of the sun. So Chakaradhyam Niyamadibhischa. So you should now go and do Tirth Seva, means travel to the holy places. And while doing that, you should also follow the principles of Yama Niyam. Because people go to Tirtha but they do not control their mind and senses. The holy places are not meant for sense enjoyment. People come to Vrindavan and they want to enjoy here. This is not a place for enjoyment. If you want to enjoy, you can do that at your own home. So, if you perform sinful activity in other places, then it is removed by taking shelter of Tirtha. Sunyasthane krite papam Tirtha sevya vinashyati. But if you do sin in the Tirtha sthan, Tirthasthane kritam papam vajralepo bhavishyati. And there is no counteraction for that. So there is advantage of holy place. It is very powerful if one wants to advance spiritually. It can also be the cause of going down the drain. So something which is powerful has the other side. If it is misused, like fire, it's very powerful and therefore useful, but if it can also burn you. So therefore he says that Tirth Sevaya, the word cha, Vishnu Chakravarti says cha here signifies while following the rules and regulations. So when people come to holy place, they should not tell lies, they should not engage in sexual activity. All this is to be avoided in the holy place. Not cheating others. So therefore it says Achyuta Chetana, that having your consciousness on Achyuta. So, or another meaning, Nachuta Chetana Chit Shakti Riyasya Tatha Bhuta Ishwaropi Lok Sangharartham Ityartha. That although you are Achyut Chetana yourself, means you are Ishvara, so why you have to do it? This is another meaning he is taking. He says just to set an example for others, so that others can learn from you. So iti sarartha darshinyam harshinyam bhakt chetsam navme ayam panchadasa sangata sangatam satam. End of 15th chapter. Any questions? One minute.
Actually, you told that if somebody does something wrong to you, then there are two possibilities, that first you tolerate or otherwise do action without doership. So regarding tolerate part, that toleration should be that without any depression or without any anger within yourself, then it is called toleration.
Yes. Otherwise it is called repression, which can lead to depression. Okay.
And the second part, like taking action without doership, how can that be achieved? Like you being in full knowledge that you are a spiritual person.
Yes. Yes, we have to have that consciousness.
Babaji, why Jamadagni, knowing the Kshatriya nature of Lord Parasuram, didn't stop him before he went to kill?
Because he didn't tell Jamadagni that he's going. He came and he heard the news from his mother and he ran. He did not consult with him. Anything else? Yes. Can give the mic back.
Jai Gurudev. At the beginning, you mentioned that the need can be satisfied, but the grief can be never satisfied.
Greed.
So, the greed, yeah. So very usual, the line between them is very thin, especially from the personal point of view. So how actually to distinct where is the need ends and the greed starts?
Well, needs are the basic needs, like you have your hunger, you have bodily needs. So they can be satisfied. If you are hungry, you eat food, how much can you eat? But if you want to hoard food, that is greed, because there is no limit of it. There is food here, and you eat what you want to eat, but then you want to also take it, then you can take the whole thing. And if there is neighbor, you can also get his food. So there is no limit to that. So needs are limited. Needs are your own personal needs. You are a limited being, so they have limited needs. Whatever your body needs, food, sleep, other things. But greed is a bottomless pit. Can never be satisfied. Yes.
So, this advice of Parashuram's father that he gave him afterwards was saying that he should try to stop this karma cycle. Isn't that actually a kind of a materialistic interpretation? Because isn't it like so many times we hear people being worried about, what the karmic result of their action might be, and how they should, act accordingly, so they might, get a good result, or at least, or maybe even stop it. But from a perspective of a devotee, isn't that? I mean, once you put Krishna into action in your interpretation, then doesn't that disconnect everything that happens from this merely mechanical.
So what would you do in this situation? Let's take an example. If you are Parshuram, what would you do?
Are you asking me personally?
Yeah, I'm asking you. Who else? Because you are the one who is saying that this is materialistic view. So, okay, you are a devotee and you are Parshuram, so what would you do?
So you have like the way you can. I guess there are multiple ways how you can act. But
Just tell me one way. I'm not saying you are Parshuram and you faced this situation.
Yeah. So I think the difference is he can do the same action as he did it, but thinking that this is as what he should do as a attitude, out of an attitude of service, because he's being like placed into the situation in order to.
So why kill the whole army? Who made the mistake? The army or the king?
Yeah, obviously the king made the mistake.
So just go and kill the king. If you really want to kill him also, then you kill, or you just go and talk to, why don't go and talk to him?
Okay, I understand, but my problem is not so much about his action, what he did. It is about his father.
So how do you know what he was thinking?
And what his father said, that he should stop the karma. He was not worried about what he was thinking. He was just saying, if you stop the karma, that's the good thing what you should do.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, like, from a perspective of devotee, that's not the point, right?
Yeah, but you're actually, devotees actually think that they are very elevated people. The problem is that this word devotee is too much misused. So do you know what it means to be a devotee?
Yeah, what I said before, that when of course there are different interpretations, but
So why that cannot be an interpretation that, okay, I'm a devotee of Krishna and I tolerate. Trinadapi sunichayana taroriva sahishnuna amanina manudena kirtaniya sadahari. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, you know this sloka, right?
but then I tolerated out of that interpretation that everything is happening because of, because...
It doesn't matter, you tolerate it or not. So why you think he's also saying that tolerate? And that is not bringing you any reaction, whether you call it karma reaction or offense reaction. You can call it sin, or you can also call it an offense. The king is a representative of God, and you go and kill him, that is an offense. If you take from devotee point of view, let's use the word offense. If you see it from other point of view, you call it sin, that's all.
I can accept that.
It's not that, just so many ways of saying, but you should understand that devotee is not free from offense. So he could have also tolerated thinking that this is wrong to do that. Okay, he has made a mistake, so now I'm going to kill him. And that is going to create so much problem. Now his own father will be killed by that. So even you think, well, I'm just doing it as a service to Krishna. Whatever is that service, I don't know. But you can think and do anything as a service to Krishna, and then you get your father killed, then you say, this is also service to Krishna. And then he goes and kills more and says, this is also service to Krishna. You can think like that, I'm not saying. But then you have to say that.
But what is the benefit of thinking I should stop my karma?
What is the benefit of not stopping it?
What's the difference?
What is it? Then why be a devotee?
Yeah, but karma just means that, I'm not.
What is a karma? Is a reaction, just you do something, you think a devotee does something and no result comes out of it. If you go and kill somebody, okay, now at the present time, and you say, well, I'm a devotee and I'm doing this as a service to Krishna, you think police will not come and put you in prison?
Of course.
So would you like that?
I mean, if I act according to my best understanding and my best ability, and but my concern is not about stopping that's not my goal to stop the karma.
Yeah, but I'm saying your goal is also not to commit offense, or yes or no? Tell me that.
That I agree, yes.
So it's same thing I'm saying. If you're seeing from karma point of view, you call it stopping karma. If you're seeing from devotee point of view, say stopping offense.
Yeah, my question was that these are two completely different interpretations of.
So why I cannot give both interpretation? That's what I'm saying.
Okay, no, I understand. But from a devotee perspective, we interpret it as an offense, as that what we are trying to avoid.
Yes.
It's not the karmic reaction that we try to
Yes,
avoid.
but if you are not a devotee of that level which you are thinking, you also get karma. That's what I'm saying. That's why I said that this damn word devotee is misused so much. Just because people have got this Kanthimala and Tilak, they start thinking I'm free from karma. And I'm saying you are not. And you better be careful. Because this is the damn problem, people think I'm free from karma because as soon as you become devotee, you become free from karma. Yes, you become free from karma if you actually become a devotee, which means if you surrender. But people don't surrender. I know this. People do whatever they want to do and they think they're devotees. That's exactly what I'm trying to say, that understand what is the meaning of being a devotee. Devotee means who is surrendered to Krishna, and people don't surrender. Surrender is the last thing they want to do. They do whatever they want to do and then they say, I'm a devotee, I'm doing it for Krishna. So Parsuram can also say that I went and I killed him, I did it for Krishna. Simple. So I'm free from it. So this kind of cleverness does not work here. So that's what he's trying to explain, and that's what I'm trying to interpret it. That it is not just some clever wording or clever explanation. You have to actually feel. You have to understand that I am responsible for every action I take. Just because I think I'm a devotee doesn't mean that I'm absolutely free from karma. Yes, you are free from karma if you are absolutely devoted to Krishna. If you are not absolutely devoted to Krishna, then you are not free from karma. You can think whatever you want to think, but thinking is not going to change the reality. So you better learn this. Whenever some action is being performed, you have to know that there are two ways I can act on it. You can take action and then you can give an explanation, I did this. But actually you are acting on your samskaras. Your samskaras are driving you and you don't even know that. Because mind is so much conditioned to be driven by the samskaras. And they are happening automatically. We don't realize them. But after the action is done, then you can give interpretations. But the real thing is to be present at that moment when you have to actually make the decision and take action. That time you have to think like this, but that time we don't think. When something happened and somebody comes and tells you something, then you become upset and you take action. Later on you give an explanation of it. That's what people do, that's what the human mind does. So that later on explanation has no meaning. It is when somebody comes and abuses you, that is the time you have to think, and then you do whatever you want to do. You want to slap him, but you should be situated in your own self. Not that at that time you lose your temper and you forget completely and under the control of your own samskaras, and then later on you rationalize your action. So that is very important to understand. So as far as he is saying, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that for Parsuram it makes no difference. He said he is Ishvara. This is a story for us to learn. Not that Parsuram is going to go to hell or suffer from this. But this is you can call it history, you can call it Leela. This is people like us to study from this, that when we are in such a situation, this is how we act. And this is how we become overpowered by our nature. So then his father is trying to tell him that this should not be like that. That you should be tolerant. Yes.
Question, Babaji.
Yes.
The word Loka Sangraha, which is also used in Bhagavad Gita, to set an example, how does it word Sangraha or Loka? Loka means general people, but Sangraha comes to that, give you that meaning.
Yeah, so what does Sangraha means?
Sangraha means mostly we say collection or accumulation.
Yeah, so that means so many people will be following it, right? That is the accumulation. If people follow, that following is accumulation, right? So Vigraha, you have heard the word Vigraha?
Yeah, Vigraha means, yes.
What is Vigraha?
Vigraha means we can also fight, basically.
Vigraha means battle. This word came. Yeah, fight or battle. It came in one of the slokas also.
Yes.
So Sangraha therefore means union. So means to unite people. So means your action will unite people, which means that it will bring affection, love, kindness. That's what tolerance is. Right?
Harmony.
Yeah. So that will bring Loka Sangraha. Otherwise Loka Vigraha.
Thank you.
Yeah, the word was here. Vivrikna charma dhvaja chapa vigraham. So the Vigraha is. So Vigraha also means Bhagavan ka Vigraha. Vigraha also means battle. Yes.
Yeah, I just want to ask that like Parshuram was a Kshatriya. He was born in a Brahmana family, but I was wondering that he acted on the Kshatriya platform by killing these people. Then why did Jamadagni, preach to him like this, that you shouldn't have killed the king?
So why should he act on Kshatriya platform?
Because he had got that, the grandfather had given that thing to him.
Yeah, but he's born, that's what I'm
He
saying.
was born in a Brahmana family. but-
So this is what I'm saying, that you have to act according to your status. Then he should renounce being a Brahmana and join somebody's army. If this is your excuse to fight, then why are you staying in the Brahmana family? Then you join them, become an army chief of Kartavirya Arjun. He'll be happy to give you a good salary. So why you have to be there? So he's being a Brahmana and acting like a Kshatriya. So that's why he's saying that Vayam Brahmana Tata, that's why he's saying we are Brahmanas.
So in Mahabharata, Dronacharya did the same thing. He was born in a Brahmana family, but fighting with Kshatriya. So I'm a little confused, but I'm just wanting to know.
So what is the
So
confusion?
how does this work? I mean, if you're a Brahmana family, your nature is Brahmanical, so you act on that platform or you act as a Kshatriya?
No, if you are Brahmana, you have to decide what you want to be. Okay? It's not that you want to be Brahmana and then it's just like you're a doctor and your nature is to do business. Right? So now what should you do? You remain as a doctor and then you do business. So you are going to kill many people. Right? So if you want to do business, then give up your doctorship and do business. So you're posing as a doctor, means you are identifying yourself as a doctor and you're known in the society as a doctor, but you're doing business. So that is wrong. Then you should identify yourself as a business person and do business, then there's nothing wrong. If your nature is to do business and this is what you want to do, then don't identify yourself as Brahmana and do business. So then you identify yourself as businessman or businesswoman and do business, then that is perfectly all right. But you want to identify yourself as one thing and then you want to act on another's
So that means
duty.
what Dronacharya did and what Parshuram is doing in this.
This is exactly what he's saying. Why is he using this word Brahmana? He could have simply said he should not have done it. He specifically says, Vayam hi Brahmanas tata. That is the first thing he says. He says, my son, we are Brahmanas. So this is not our job to fight. So you are transgressing your identity. If you want to change it, then you change it and then do whatever you want to do, then you fight. But then don't call yourself. So that's what he's saying. So this is what Krishna is telling to Arjuna, that you are a Kshatriya. You identify yourself as a Kshatriya, but then you want to act like a sannyasi. So then he says this is incompatible. Because he came, if you wanted to be a Brahmana or a sannyasi, then why did you trouble me to bring me here on the battlefield? Then you go and live, I have no problem with that. Krishna was not saying you must fight only. He says if you want to take sannyas, then don't come here. Then don't bother about it. So on one side you are so much concerned, and then on the other side you also want to be a sannyasi. So he says this is incompatible. So that's why Arjuna says that I am confused. Dharma sammudha cheta. Right? He says that I am confused about my action, my duty. What shall I be doing? Why is he confused? Because he is identifying himself as a Kshatriya, but he wants to act as a sannyasi. So that's where the incompatibility comes.
Babaji, you basically already answered my question, but I still would like to clarify. Parashuram is a Shaktivish avatar, and usually the behavior of an avatar is very exemplary, like Prithu Maharaj or Rishabdev. So in this case, he's giving a negative example to learn from. So can you comment on this?
So that's why you have to have both examples in the story, negative and positive, otherwise how would you learn about negative? If there is no negative example, so there are examples and there are counter examples. So you also have to have that.
So the counter examples are not only in the opponents which he rectifies, so but even in himself.
Yeah. So that's the conclusion here. That's why he has to go on Tirthayatra.
Okay.
Okay, I'll stop.